Start streaming. I need to make sure it works before I send it. Alright. Make sure it works before I send it. Piskel is working.
Okay.
Right. Make sure it works before I send it. Piskel is working.
Okay.
Alright, they can hear you too. Make sure
Cool.
before I send it. Okay. Now I just need to actually share it, which they don't give you. Oh yes, they do. No. Link to regular YouTube, please, not YouTube gaming. What Discord channel? I think I'm just okay. Do y'all think I should ping everyone because it's the first live stream?
Maybe.
You can use Stream Chat or the Discord channel. Considering there might be some people who are not on the Discord, I'd prefer if you use the Stream Chat, but at the exact same time, who's actually gonna find this, so who cares? You know what, just to simplify things, try and use, either, or preferably just school chat.
Yeah, I'll use school chat.
Okay, anyways, I think I should probably start off by just, general bow things again. Or I could go into the next assignment, but considering we already covered bows, there's two different things I can do. Or I can just answer any general questions you guys have.
Okay.
So, what do y'all think? Should I go for tools, bow, or just general stuff?
I think probably how to make assorted tools for a video game.
Well, considering I'm Terraria style, it's gonna be based on Terraria. Let's go. I'm gonna start with a pickaxe, because this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty simple. So you start off with just a handle, a decently long handle. You're gonna want to keep it like this. If you want, you can add a pommel to your pickaxe, but it's not really necessary.
And basically just completely copy Minecraft, but with different colors, and you'll be good.
I'm copying Terraria, not Minecraft. Okay, then just kind of continue the handle, but 1 pixel up. Then you just, and, yeah, that was super complicated. Obviously, you're gonna want to put more effort into your tools than this. Considering I don't even think this is symmetrical, but you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Next we have shading it. This actually differs between quite a lot of people. I'm going to be using a green palette that I made last lesson. Just as an example of this. The delay is very easy to hear. I'm sorry about that. You can just listen to the stream alone, or you can listen to the Discord call. Anyways, for the pickaxe, you'll want to do this. Just you can highlight either of these ways. Me personally, I prefer to do this, and then that.
Okay. Pickaxe isn't quite symmetrical there.
Wait, for real? I actually cannot see that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wait, no, there.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, it looks good.
Yeah, it is actually symmetrical. Alright.
Alright.
You are a liar, and you will shortly be banned. Congrats.
Oh, no.
I could sense the sarcasm. Okay, I selected my 4th color for both. Welcome to T-Boy has a 0 IQ moment. AKA my entire life.
I wonder why you already have 4 subscribers.
I don't know, probably just randos.
You do appear to have some rather large playlists full of stuff.
The actual head of the pickaxe is where it gets difficult, because there's so many ways to shade this. You can essentially do whatever you want with this head this part.
Alright.
I mean, this isn't
already
really...
it looks pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't like a bad pickaxe. It's not exactly good, but it's not exactly bad. Pretty simple. You can essentially use any palette you want. I mean, just it's metal, obviously. That's really the only limitation for palettes in this. It's either like metal or at least a substance that looks remotely like metal.
Looked kind of like chlorophyte there, but now it's like gold or something, compressed sandstone. Then you can change it to some kind of an ocean, like sapphire.
Yeah, this isn't like the best pickaxe in the world. I've made better pickaxes before. I understand everybody can now see my memes. Seriously, all of my quick files were memes. I've been stealing a lot. Anyways, I'm trying to find another pickaxe reference. Excuse me while I go through my files for a solid 10 seconds. Make that more seconds. Here we have a perfect example of how you can oversize a pickaxe. Mo has disliked the stream because I am using osmium sprites.
That's a big pickaxe. Wow.
Yeah, it's in 2x2 because it was meant for Terraria, obviously. But, you know, as you can see, it's a bit more unique. It's not, like, gonna win an award anytime soon, but, you know, it's a bit more unique.
Okay.
I haven't made many pickaxes, so I wouldn't call myself an expert on this, but, like, again, tools that aren't that hard. It's definitely easier than everything else we've done. Here's a pickaxe that is much better looking. This one uses 2 separate materials for the head alone. So instead of separating them with an outline, as you can see, I use the 4th colors. And it actually looks like it's one connected material, but it also looks separate enough. It's kind of like a layer almost. Let me fix that.
Yeah, it's kind of like there are 2 pickaxes in one there.
Yeah, it's better than just looking like it's just 2 entirely separate pickaxes.
Indeed.
Also, I should probably have said this at the beginning, but hi, if anybody's watching this who was not on the Discord server, I should have linked it in the description.
I'll link it in chat, I guess.
I can just, category gaming, yeah. Totally. Category gaming?
Should be education.
I'm not sure if it should be, no, I thought art was a comedy. I'll do how-to and style. I'm gonna go ahead and make a permanent invite link.
Yes. Permanent invite links, always good for descriptions.
And always good for getting rated.
Indeed.
And sorry for the background noise. I have family over. If there is any background noise, I can't really control that. I mean, they're my parents. I obviously just can't go down there and tell them, hey, shut the fuck up.
I mean, so far I've heard none, so you're good.
Well, I just failed that hard. But yeah, as you can see, also here's a tip. You should make your pommels at least 1 shade darker, so it actually looks like they're at the bottom. I'm not one to go super crazy about light sources, but don't make it the most inconsistent thing on the planet. I think a lot of people will go for light sources to the point where it inhibits their sprite. So there's just so many dark and unshaded areas. I think you should use a decent bit of light. But you shouldn't, like, make the whole thing light either. Especially considering light sources are pretty hard to do for a beginner.
Indeed.
Like, I'm not trying to teach you guys advanced techniques. This is for beginners. I'm not going to be teaching super advanced things here. I mean, that's not what this server is for. Okay, here we have 1 pickaxe, which is essentially 2 smaller pickaxes together because I ran out of ideas. I'm gonna go and make some slight adjustments to this because I'm mostly showing old sprites from back when I actually had a mod for Terraria.
Now that's epic.
On this one, the head isn't really shaded all that different from the actual pickaxe itself. It's just kind of like a break right there. On this one, it's essentially no break at all on the smaller one. There is what, Smargasm? Alright. I'm trying to find some more examples of a pickaxe just so you guys can get a feel for it. Is anybody starting on a pickaxe right now?
No. Not me, anyway.
Well, I'd go ahead and do that, because that may or may not be the next assignment. Well, it's not just a pickaxe, it's every tool, but the next lesson will be on axes, so... That is, if we can fit axes anyways.
Alright, I have Piscal open and clear, so...
Here we have an idea of how you shouldn't detail your pickaxes. Here's how to not do it. As you can see, there's just this random indent, and there's lines separating the materials. Obviously, I'm criticizing this, so it's not mine. The light source is right here for the pommel and the side for some reason, even though the light source right here is there, and it's just not the best. So that's a how not to.
Alright.
Well, I'm sorry about that sarcasm. I can't really do much about the background noise, but it won't be this bad next time. Alright, if I have any more references to yeah, if I have any more references to show, I will drag them in there, but I think you guys have a general feel for it by now.
So I guess I'll start attempting to make a pickaxe.
Alright, here we have a very old and bad pickaxe of mine. Surprisingly, this is actually the one that got used in a mod. Okay, Fernium. This isn't, like, that bad. It just has, like, a lot of things you could improve on.
I think a couple too many jewels. That's one problem.
I haven't really gone and done some super amazing... pickaxes, really, ever. I haven't done anything too super detailed. So that's why I'm not, like, the absolute best on this, and I don't have any super advanced stuff to show, because I just haven't done that yet, but I probably could. I mean, again, pickaxes are not hard.
Indeed.
If you want something that's hard to make, try and make something crazy like a boss.
Indeed.
Which, considering that's like 100% game styled, I'm definitely not going to be going over that anytime soon. Yeah, I can't seem to find any more pickaxes. Also, speaking of pickaxe heads, you can also use that for something like a sword hilt. In a way, like this was for another mod. I do that a lot. This sword hilt kind of looks like a pickaxe head. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out, but if you learn how to shade a pickaxe head, you can also apply that knowledge to sword hilts, if you want to be lazy.
Indeed, it does look a lot like a pickaxe.
Anyway, here's an idea. The price you pay for watching the stream and not being in the Discord is that legendary 3-second delay.
Yes.
I suppose you could just, you know, mute the stream and listen in Discord, or vice versa, but I don't see why you would want to go on the stream when it has a delay.
Right now, I'm watching your stream while in the VC because there's no screen share.
Yeah, there's no screen share channels, but even if it's definitely lighter on my computer to stream than it is to screen share, so I'm definitely going to be streaming. I don't know why it's lighter on my PC, but it just is. Here's another example. That's the wrong sprite. Did you catch that epic IQ moment?
No.
Alright, well, like, I dragged in the wrong sprite. Apparently the sprite I was gonna use doesn't even exist. Alright, we haven't even gone through half of it, so I think I'm gonna go over something much different real quick. There are a lot of things I could go over, there's a lot of things like I plan to go over, so I just want to get one of them out of the way. What would you want to learn about, actually?
That's the thing, I don't really know. I mean, possibly how to create sort of humanoid characters.
A humanoid character? Okay, I'm not even an expert at this, like, when it comes to shading, I'm pretty decent at it, and when it comes to shaping, I'm not good. I do actually have an example of how I shade it, but that's for a game that nobody's actually supposed to know exists yet, so yeah, I can't exactly show that on live. Well, I could, and they could do nothing about it, but human decency.
Yes.
So, here's here, you know what, here's something, good lord. God Lord Axes and Hammers. Alright. Well, which one do you think I should go over first, Mar? You are a moderator? Also, if you can send me your YouTube account, you'll get stream on. Or Axes, okay. Maybe actually find a ref here. My spriting folders are very organized. It's not like it's a mess. I'm just retarded. Alright. This probably wasn't the best example to drag in. This is a very unique axe. Most of this set was actually pretty unique. You can see the hammer. It looks nothing like Terraria's hammers, because it's predominantly a Terraria-styled server, so that might be a bit of an issue. You can see it's kind of noisy, but in a weird way. Here we go. Here's the oversized double axe right here. If it will drag in. With the worst pommel I've ever seen. Anyways, enough messing around. I'm gonna actually get on making an axe. Just like the pickaxe, you're gonna want to start by making your handle. You can just draw a line right here. That was way too long. And now it's too short. Again, you can add a pommel if you want. Optional, in my opinion, because you don't have to have a pommel on an axe, but it can look cool if you want to get other fancy with it. Yeah, okay. I have to go over the shape of axes, even though I know you guys probably struggle with shading the most. You can do something like this, just something clear to separate the axe from the back half. Just some basic little thing. And you can just do your back half. It's some sort of weird little shape. Now for the actual axe head, like the shape of it, in this case it's going to be uneven, because look at the lines, I don't really have another choice. So, but this is basically what your average axe shape looks like. Pretty simple.
Okay.
I like
Indeed, very simple.
Yeah, I like to go a little fancier with it. Do something like this. That'll be 1 second. But yeah, okay. You can see that, so you can go ahead and copy down a shape if you're still doing your pickaxe. Yeah? Of course, I'm having issues hearing things.
Nice.
You guys can probably hear me meaning that I'm muting. And also talking, but I can't hear it.
Okay, wow. That's epic.
That's just how I test whether I can hear it. Yeah, I'm loving this. It's not being able to hear a thing. It's great.
Yep, that's very lovely.
Oh wow, I can actually hear you, but I can't hear the mute and unmute sounds. Discord has betrayed me.
Thank you, Discord. Very
Alright, so
cool.
here's how to not convey something being sharp. 101. Spikes. Just don't. And that's number one specific and useful tip of the day. Spikes, just don't. But as you can see, like, the basic axe shape is just a curve. You can't go something that looks a bit sharper like this. You can do this. There we go, I think that looks decent. Now for shading, you're going to want to generally put your highlight around, you know, this, the actual part that cuts. By spikes, I mean, like, don't try to do something like this on the edge of a blade or on the edge of an axe instead of just doing, like, something like this.
Okay.
It's not the best example.
Kind of stupid.
Alright, after this. Okay, so start off with just doing the edges, then go a little bit to the side. Now, these corners here, go ahead and fill those in. And then you just kind of anti-alias the corners of that. So you fill in the corners and then you instantly get rid of the corners. Good, good strategy, I know, right? You can go ahead and finish this on the side just like if it was a normal secondary color instead of just anti-aliasing. Try not to do this because you need to separate them more. You just created banding. If you, like me, I just created banding right here. Start off by just filling this with your fourth color. Then go ahead and loop your third color around here. On the back. And there you have it. Basic axe. Well, the hard part to shade. I'm pretty sure you guys know what you're supposed to do right here. You just... Hold on, let me take my first and second. Just do your handle like you would any other handle for any other tool. Pretty simple. And there we have most of it done. You just shade the, I'm gonna call this a crystal, even though that's definitely not what it is right here. I'm gonna shade it like this. There's not really any specific way to shade this. You can basically do it however you want, as long as it doesn't look like garbage. So don't do what I'm doing, because even if it looks good, I'm doing it, so it's garbage.
Okay, understood.
And then just do this thing. There are plenty of ways to just shade a little 3-pixel thing like that. You can do this, you can do something like this, or do the other side. You can do this, you know, there's just a lot of options on how you can do that. I'm just gonna be lazy and I'm gonna do this. Which does not look good, of course. If you really want, you can kind of just not shade it at all, considering it's so small. You can get away with that fairly easily for very, very small shapes that are difficult to shade. you guys can send whatever you made whenever you finish. There's no rush here, considering you have another half an hour.
Indeed.
I'll still give feedback on anything I haven't, anything I've already finished covering. I'll still give feedback on that. Threw a bit of a lightning round here. So what's your opinion on this rule? Considering the student thing says someone who consistently does the assignments, if you skip an assignment, you'll lose the student role. But you'll get the enrolled role, which is what I will begin pinging now.
Okay.
And you essentially get enrolled when there's any evidence that you are trying to learn pixel art at all, despite if you attend classes or not.
Alright.
Basically just messing around with some colors here at this point.
Right now I am like making the world's worst axe, and I have no clue actually how to do this shape, because like I want to make it pretty big, but I don't know how.
One good rule of thumb for how big you want your stuff in pixel art is just make it shadable. That's one thing I think everybody should know. Make it so you can actually shade the thing. I'm gonna be pinging everyone and making an announcement if what I'm seeing right here might be true. I don't want to say what it is unless it's proven true.
Okay.
But let's just say if this is true, there's at least one guy on the server who's getting banned from Discord. It's some sort of rule. I'm not unsure if they just added it or not, or if they just started enforcing it. You know, I might as well say it. Apparently, Discord has begun like a rule where anybody who has a not safe for work profile picture will be banned. I'm going to check the terms of service to see if this is correct. I do not see anything like this on the terms. Sorry, your 200 IQ teacher here just accidentally joined a different voice channel.
Okay, cool. That is, wow. 300 IQ right there.
You know, I don't know. Which one are you working on right now? Are you working on your pickaxe or your axe?
I'm making like a large battle axe of sorts.
Here's the thing though. I recommend you use the same palette as you did for your sword and your bow. Keep those palettes consistent.
Okay.
Just simply because, you know, it's your first metal palette, so I figured why not get some use out of it. Learn how to get familiar with it.
Alright, I guess I'll import a palette from my sword sprite that I made.
I usually just drag in the sprite that has whatever palette I want to copy, so if I wanted this purple palette, I'd just drag this in and I would copy it from there. I know what I just dragged in looks bad. It's a sword projectile. It's very old. It's not getting used. Not only can I not do a magical sword raid, no, sorry, not only can I not do a normal sword raid, I can't do a magical sword raid. Alright, that my Meow Mirror has the rest of the palette. So there you go. Oh yeah, here's a fun fact though. I did not make a single original palette for this. These were all rehashed. Is there any sort of other thing? Should I go over hammers next? Again, you guys can like just post these in feedback or school chat later. But I like to keep the live stream consistent for people who, you know, if for some reason they come across this and they're not on the Discord.
Yep.
Anyways, I figure considering probably no one's watching, I'm just gonna let you guys go ahead and make your stuff.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm going to be doing anything else.
Okay. In that case, I'll keep working on my axe here.
I guess I'll just do some random stuff.
Yep, you have fun with that.
Only the fins on this are good. Everything else is bad. In the meantime, I might as well make anything useful.
Indeed.
Here's how you use the circle tool in Piskel, in case you somehow manage to not realize that you just drag. That was very complicated.
Cool.
Anyways, yeah.
Thank you for the tutorial. I had no clue.
I figured considering we're using Piskel, I'm going to go ahead and go over how to use most of Piskel's features. This is your pencil. It's what you draw pixels with. You can just do generic lines like this, or you can just kind of dot it to make more specific shapes. Don't exactly know what I'm doing here because it's some sort of cube. This is the vertical mirror pen. It's essentially like a mirror. You can see what's going on. It mirrors everything along the, you know, vertically.
Okay.
I don't understand why anybody would really use this too commonly. Maybe if you're making something fancy like a gate and you want it to be symmetrical.
Or say some sort of a cool vase.
yeah, if you want to get really lazy with it, just bam, done. This is your paint bucket tool. This is pretty self-explanatory. It fills in an area with the color you have selected, even if the outline is not the same color. You can also use this over a group of another color to replace it. So let's say I had this. I can go ahead and use fill bucket with another color selected, and I can do that. You can also right click on one of your palettes and you can get your secondary color, which shows up right here. And you can right click with the fill bucket as well. The same thing applies to the pencil, the mirror pen, and also this. What this does, this is the, well, paint all pixels of the same color. I usually call it the universal bucket, but the name's pretty self-explanatory. Despite the fact that this is many clusters clustered together, instead of having to pick multiple times with the paint bucket, you can just use this, and then you can right click or left click to replace all pixels of that color. Now, if you have a different frame, this doesn't apply to every frame, unless you press shift, I believe. Yeah. If you press shift on the universal bucket, that will apply to all frames, but if you press shift with the paint bucket, that doesn't apply. Same with the pencil. Next we have the eraser. Again, pretty self-explanatory. It erases things. I use this less often, you'd think, to erase my sprites, considering there's literal better options out there.
Yeah, you can just right click with your secondary color not picked as anything.
Yeah, but I tend to have my secondary color picked a lot. Also, you can use the color picker, and you can just select something that has no color at all to get an eraser. The stroke tool is something you can use to draw straight lines. It's also oddly satisfying. You can also use your right-click color with the stroke tool as usual. That's not the stroke tool I just selected, but you get the point. You can use a right-click. You can't use both, obviously, because that would just have the colors overlap each other. If you press shift with the stroke tool, instead of applying to all frames, this will make it only rotate in large angles, making it easier to do straight lines. If you try to do it without holding shift, you can do this. You know, as you can see, it's like bending a lot. But if you're holding shift, it's much easier. And obviously the same applies to shift and right click. Next we have the rectangle tool. This is, again, pretty self-explanatory. Shift doesn't seem to do anything with this. I'll keep 1-to-1 ratio. So with the rectangle tool, with the rectangle tool, you can just hold shift and you will only get squares. Even though that's not really a rectangle anymore. The circle tool is basically the same thing as the rectangle tool, except for circles. And again, you can keep your circle perfectly even by holding shift. You can make some lazy thing like this. Circle tool, again, applies with right click. Next we have the move tool. I do not use this much, but this essentially takes your entire sprite and you can just move it. This is technically a fast way to erase the entire thing. You just kind of drag it and just get it out of there. Next you have a shape selection. Oh, sorry, there's one more thing about the move tool. It has a lot of different functions, as you can see with Control, Shift, and Alt, so you can do Control to apply to all layers, at least according to Piskel, but they're apparently not too fond of that. But you can't do that, even though it says it right there. Oh, sorry, that was layers, not frames. Shift to apply to all frames. And wrap canvas borders. That's basically just trippy effect. Like clones itself. It's now infinite. Now for actual shape selection, you can kind of just drag it along the borders of something. Or just, you know, casually select the entire thing. You can click again in an empty area to deselect, I believe. But as you can see, this will select, like, this is basically the paint bucket selector. Next you have rectangle selection. This is essentially the same thing. Also for all selections, you can press shift and, you know, drag it around. You don't have to hold shift for this. When you click off your selected area, it will, you know, become itself again. You can copy it, and then you can delete it, and then you can paste it. Next we have the lasso selection. I don't use this much, so I'm not very good with it, but this is essentially for selecting very, very, very specific shapes. I'm gonna make a much simpler shape here, so I don't have to make a super terrible example of lasso selection. There we go. It would basically just loosely trace the outline of your sprite, but as you can see, that's not exactly in my skill set at this point in time. Currently retracing what I literally just did. It's beyond my capability. Next you have lighten. I would never use lighten if I was you. It's done really badly. I think it's just supposed to be so you can shade, but it's much better to make a palette due to hue shifting. This is lighten. I guess it makes your colors whiter. Well, I don't guess that, it's definitely what it's doing. But it's kind of like a blurry brush, as you can see. It adds way too many colors, and despite the fact that they might not actually be in current colors, they are. That's even worse. It's not really a good option. I could see this actually being useful if you're trying to do highlights and stuff for Minecraft, because of how many colors that tends to use, but that's the only practical use I could think of right off the top of my head. Lots of undos here. And then you just right click to darken. Or apparently you don't.
T-Boy, the absolute undo god.
Yeah, apparently you don't right click to darken. I apologize, you control to darken. Which isn't really the best darken, it's just, you make it blacker. If you darken enough, you'll just straight up get black. And it can also go over twice. And then you just lighten what you just darkened, and as you can see, it doesn't return it to the original color. So that is a very good tool indeed. You can sense the sarcasm. Never use that. Next we have dithering. This is just adds a dithering pattern, and dithering is essentially, well, adding a pattern to make the transition between colors smoother. A more practical example of this would be that if I just made this simple circle right here, and then instead of just having it be one shade, I wanted to add another shade, but I decided to dither it just to make it a bit softer. You wouldn't usually like dither the entire thing like this. And this is not a good circle either, but you know, this is what you would do on the very edges of it to make it look a bit smoother. As you can see, I usually use rectangle to delete. I'm just very used to that. Lastly, we have the color picker. We've already been over that. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just grab any color you want from here, and you can just take it off your sprite, and you can pick it with the color picker, and you can now draw with it. Here are a couple things. There's the pen size. This is 1 pixel. This is 2 pixels. This is 3 pixels, and this is 4 pixels. Never mix pixel sizes, and even if you have 4 pixels throughout the entire sprite, if you do something like this, it's going to look bad simply because, as you can see, there's not 4 pixel differences. So try to keep it more like this. I don't see why anybody would sprite in anything above 1 by 1 unless you're very lazy and don't want to export it and just, you know, do sprites for games that have enlarged pixels like Terraria and 2 by 2 for, again, Terraria by example. But you can just, you know, do it in 1x1, and then in the export page you can just scale it up. This right here allows you to swap what colors. So your first color will become your second color, your second color will become your first color. The shortcut for this is X. In order to undo, you press Control Z, like most programs. This is your current colors right here. You know, pretty obvious. If you want to edit a color, you just press this pencil, create a palette called Current Colors Clone. You can click on a color, and you can press plus to clone that color, and you can just reduce the value or something if you wanted. And then you can save that, and you'll instantly be switched to that. This is a palette you can locally save, even in your browser. And you can also save palettes that used to be Current Colors clones. You can also use this to just make entirely new colors. Normally you just start with one black, and then you can just go ahead and make your starting color, and then slowly make it darker and darker, and make yourself a palette. And as you can see, I've done that plenty of times. And I have palettes that are way too big, and I sometimes forget what all these colors are for. So yeah, pretty simple right there. Transform. This flips your sprite over. Just pretty simple right there. Just flips it over. I believe if you put it in the corner, it will actually flip it to the other corner. And then you can press Alt in this, yeah, to flip it the other way. So I just flipped it both ways, and then you can just do it again to get rid of it. This is rotating. Press Alt to rotate it the other way. You can press Control to apply to layers, and Alt to apply to all frames. No, Shift to apply to all frames, as with most tools. Clone the current layer to all frames. It's pretty simple. You just take whatever layer you have, or sprite in this case, because I haven't quite gone over layers yet. You just clone it. It's great if you don't want to press, you know, spam duplicate. You can just do this. You just add a bunch of new frames, and you can use the thing. And as you can see, I've cloned the blank one that I had selected. I don't see why you wouldn't just use duplicate, though. It's a lot faster. You have align image to the center. So if you had this, which is all the way on the side, you can go and align that to the center. And if you have another thing off to the side, you align that, and it will take both to the center. There's also the crop to sprite tool, and this will go ahead and crop what you have selected. So if I were to select, let's say, crop to that, you press this, that'll crop it to that. From now on, I'd recommend you guys just keep this open for simplicity reasons. Layers are probably the most complicated thing that I'm going to go over, because Piskel's a very easy to use program. But before I do that, I do want to go ahead and go into most of this. Change the color of the background. This is how clear and visible your layers are when they're on. Like the layers are not selected on. You can set your animation's maximum FPS up right here. Color format, hex, RGB, that's how you copy new color in. You could choose either of those. For some reason, mine does have both. This is how you resize it. You can change the size of your borders, how many pixels your thing actually has. You can set your default size, so when you close and open up Piskel again, you will have this set. I would show that, but, well, it'd be my desktop on a live stream, which is not the best idea. Anchor is where your sprite goes when you crop it, so if I were to set it to the center, when I set it to 89, it will stay in the center. But if I were to do this, it would go, I'm going to do a much more noticeable example, it would go to the farthest right it can, instead of just staying in the center. As you can see, it went to this thing, because that was in the bottom right, and then I add anchor to the bottom right. Save. You're not going to be using this much. This isn't actually saving your photo. That goes to export. As you can see, that's sprite sheet, image, animated GIF. That's what you want. You can save offline, and it's like a local save that doesn't actually have a file to include in the actual thing, and then just save as file to keep your layers, the special Piskel file. You can go ahead and zip your sprite right here and export. You can scale how big each pixel is. This will increase the resolution, obviously. You can go to, if you have an animation, you can use a GIF. You can upload that to public URL, but if you're using the browser, not the browser, if you're using the not browser version of Piskel like me, this just happens. You right click it, nothing happens, you can't really save it. So I just download it. PNG, pretty simple. Can't really get simpler than this, you just download. And then a C file, I don't really know what that is, but this is a PNG export of the currently selected frame. So if you have like a ton of frames and you don't want to export them all, the PNG button right here, this download, and others will just only do this one. Be warned though, if you do scale up the pixels, if you use this button, they won't scale up. You will download it one by one. This is a local Piskel saved in this browser, and it also works in the oh god, I am not speaking today. The Piskel software. So you don't actually have to save it as a file. This is how you load a Piskel file right here. I believe you can drag and drop it. I've never actually used a Piskel file before. I just keep it open. And this has automatic backups. Yeah, this is good. This is obviously good. Now, this will only keep a limited amount of backups. As you can see, I have a lot of backups of my old sprites. Well, not too old. But yeah, this has many backups. These are automatic. It is done for you. Yeetus. I have no idea what that is. Here we have the snapshots of, I can't remember, oh, yeah, that was like some weird Tearsu thing. Anyways, yeah. And that's about the last thing I can get into before layers, except local saves. As you can see, this is how local save works. You just load it in. This was a failed attempt at a tree. Doesn't really look that good. I do have a completely different way of loading trees now. It took a while to learn how to do that. I believe this is it. No, this is not it. This is a landscape thing. This is the tree. And this is supposed to be like right here. Okay, let's go to the local one more time. And these last basically indefinitely, I believe. And this was another local save, just a bunch of random sorts. And yeah, that's pretty much it except for layers, which I'm going to be going over right now. Even though we're probably going to be late by it, but who cares. This is your layers tab right here. This is right here if you want to view your extra layers. A layer is essentially like you can add multiple things at the same time to the same sprite. So let's just say for some reason I wanted gray pixels to surround this thing, but I didn't want to have to deal with the sword actually being there, because like what if I accidentally messed up and did this? Then I'd have to, you know, actually press Control-Z, and who has the time to press 2 keys? This is mainly, layers are mainly meant for more complicated sprites when you actually have an issue with how cluttered it is. And layers will not be saved in your PNGs. They will only be saved in Piskel files, remember that. And I don't think you can actually download a PNG if you have layers. And you can do this, and it will not show up on layer 1, even though it is the same image, but as you can see, that will not happen. You can press this to delete your selected layer. You can press this to add a layer. You can press shift and add to clone the current layer, so as you can see, layer 1 clone. I can go and do this, and then won't touch that. This is the same layer opacity we went over in settings. This will move the current layer all the way up to the top. This and this will move it to the bottom in terms of visibility. As you can see, it's under both of these. And now it's on top. So you'll see it on both of them. You can edit the name of the layer. Just name it, I don't know, good name. You can merge with the layer below it. You can merge with the layer below that. And when you merge below, whichever one is on top will show. So as you can see, there was pixels all over this, but because the actual bush sword was on top, that one is still showing. And lastly, delete the selected layer. You can't obviously delete the first layer because that would delete your entire sprite. anyways, so that's most of Piskel's features except for this right here, your animation, how fast your files go. Very smooth 60. I wouldn't recommend doing it in 60 because that would just require so many frames. Like, that's 60 frames for 1 second of animation. I mean, look how many frames there are of this, and yet that's still a very short pause it has. Like, to go back there to the one without this random gray pixel thing on the side. So yeah, and there's onion skin, which will show the next frame kind of blurry, almost like a layer right there. And that right there is most of Piskel. If for some reason I missed something, I covered that in the next lesson. If you guys have any more questions. Anyways, that's pretty much it. And good luck on your goals and stuff. I'm gonna